revolution will not get rid of the nub. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner, because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run, or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay.
Customarily, we only think of prayer as being a time of talking with some principle, higher power, or whatever we elect to call that being. However, those of us who have been in the struggle know very well that God and principles help those who help themselves. And our ancestors, in the hell, the horror, and the hardships of enslavement and downright evil, have still maintained our sanity and our humanity. Therefore, I want all of us who know of ancestors who came before we got here, you would invoke their names and acknowledge that they too, in addition to their high power, are responsible for us to stand this day and say the sin bill of racism, enslavement, and discrimination is high, and it's time for America, the state of California, and San Francisco to pay its bill for the enslavement and hell we have gone through. So I want to acknowledge, come in, Mr. Chair, and our Vice Chair, that we have all the members of this task force done more than just talk, done more than make analysis, done more than bringing in scholars to give concrete expression as to the harms that have been done to us. Somebody has my box around here. Who has my bag? Bring that bag on up here. I want you to see the living evidence. Not that bag, there's another bag. Who stole my bag? This is like America stole our humanity in enslaving us. Bring that bag here, whoever has it. All right. Here is evidence. The troubled life of Peter Burnett, the first governor of California, was an arch racist. He didn't like black people. And even when he was elected governor of the state, he tried to get a bill enacted through the Assembly and the Senate that would have prohibited black folks from settling in California. Here is the other document. This exquisite, excellent, inclusive document that details all of the horrors and the ills that were perpetrated against us here in San Francisco. Mr. Chairman, come forward and hold it up high. Let's applaud our chairperson, Brother McDonald. And now, our sins across this state have been so high, so humongous, that it's heavy. Brother Shimon, I want you to hold this one. 1,000 plus pages documenting the evil things that were done against us. So today, I say to you, we have stated the case. We have presented the evidence. Now is the time for that board of supervisors to stop just talking the talk, but to walk the walk and pay the bill. And if your treasury is short, if the money is funny and the change is strange, tell us what you can do and do that. And as Nike says, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. The time for talk is over, and now is the time for the debt to be paid. That is the prayer. That is the evidence. Let everybody say amen.
Okay, I'm Ken Johnson, a native San Franciscan, and what reparations means to me is it's hands-on. I mean, it gives us the opportunity to use our minds to do something positive for our community and to take advantage of all this opportunity that's out here that we don't have an opportunity to get involved with because we don't have no money. We don't have no resources. And because we don't have no resources, we can't take advantage of all this opportunity that's out here. So reparations just is giving us a helping hand because we haven't had a helping hand. We've helped build this country, fought in every war. We've did all we could to help this country, and we've been, hung. Women have been raped. I mean, it's just terrible what has happened to us. And everybody who's watching this knows our history. So all we're saying is we need the reparations, so we can start benefiting America the way we can to help America become a better place.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Carter, co-founder of SF Black Wall Street. Reparations in San Francisco is important because we're looking at generations of disinvestment and harms done to our community systematically that have oppressed our people for decades, that have held back generational wealth in San Francisco. You see the product of it right now. Black people are at the bottom of every list in this city. We have been pushed out of San Francisco. And today we asking for the San Francisco Board of Supervisors to take action on, we've made a list of over 100 recommendations. So the priorities for San Francisco Black Wealth is to lump sum payment of reparations, cash, and then HBCU is what I'm really pushing for. I think that will have immediate impact on the Black community in San Francisco.
Today, and we are holding the city accountable. So, as we move through, we want to celebrate by recognizing how far we've come and lifting every voice and singing. So I'm going to bring forth I love when Uncle Damien said illustrious. Who says illustrious? The illustrious chair of the San Francisco African American Reparations Advisory Committee, my brother, my mentor, Chair Eric McDonald.
San Francisco, you in the house? This is a good day and a long time coming. All right, what we're going to do very briefly, in your tote bags, there are the lyrics to Lift Every Voice and Sing. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven rings. Ring with the harmonies of liberties. Let our rejoicings rise high as the listening skies, and let it resound resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. And sing a song.
That brother good, ain't he? Sang down the ancestors. All right. I remember in June of 2020, right after the murder of George Floyd, standing right here at the end of these stairs, and Civic Center Plaza was full with over 1,000 people. And there was a moment where people took a knee and declared that Black Lives Matter. And then there were a couple of Black leaders around this country, one who at the time became the president of the Board of Supervisors, who decided to make this city stand on showing how much Black lives actually matter. And move forward and introduce a resolution that created the African American Reparations Advisory Committee and charged us with creating a report and recommendations on how San Francisco could show that Black Lives Matter. And so I want to thank that city leader and invite him up to continue kicking off our program today. He is our District 10 Supervisor, Shaman Walton.
What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? No matter what has happened in the past, today we are all a part of history. And as I stand here excited to see our young people who have turned out, which we set an example for, as I see our leaders who have been fighting in the trenches for decades, all understanding that we cannot be at this place without each other. So I want to start off by taking the time to say thank you so much to the entire African American Reparations Advisory Committee. Eric McDonald, Chair, Tanish Hollins, Vice Chair, Gloria Berry, Reverend Dr. Amos Brown, Gwen Brown, Tiffany Carter, Nicole Cunningham, Aniate Ekanem, Letitia Irving, Rico Hamilton, Yolanda Harris, Daniel Landry, Frederick Martin, Shaquila O'Kane, Dr. James Lance Taylor, and Star Williams. Thank you all for your work and commitment. I also want to thank the entire team at the Human Rights Commission under the leadership of Director Dr. Cheryl Davis, Brittany Chikwata, Zach Manuel, Jules Stewart, Kathy Moki-Meyer, Dr. Saida Leatutufu Birch, Amelia Martinez Bankhead, and Anjanette Coates. Thank you. I also want to thank all of our allies in this fight. Of course, my colleagues at the Board of Supervisors. I see Supervisor Preston is here. I see our public defender, Manoj Raju, is here, and you'll be seeing more of my colleagues as we move forward. But I want to thank everyone for their consistent commitment over the past couple of years, for the plethora of meetings, for all of the work in bringing community together, from working through death threats, from working through racist rhetoric, and for understanding the importance of this reparations work. Each of you have demonstrated passion for our community, and I want to thank you for taking the time to research, to plan, to learn, and for coming up with solutions that truly address equity. I want to also commend the task force and the community for accomplishing more in the last couple of years than we have in the last 200 plus years. I want to thank my office team, Natalie G. McGully, Tracy Brown Gallardo, Lindsay Lopez Weaver, and Percy Birch. Now, we have a final plan with recommendations that we need to prioritize. We also have the resources to set up the Office of Reparations, thanks to all of you. $4 million over the next 2 years in order to continue the work, prioritize recommendations, and secure resources for prioritized recommendations. We all need to be proud of the fact that we actually have a plan here in San Francisco. The Black community has been a major part of the fabric of this city, but has been the victim of intentional policies and strategies that have increased the gaps in wealth for the Black community, that have increased the disparities in health outcomes for the Black community, that have increased the gaps in education outcomes for the Black community, that have stripped away our very presence in this city. And now the city has to atone for those wrongs. Reparations will be a reality in this city, and we have all of you to thank for that. I see Supervisor Ronan. I want to thank her for being here. My message today is very simple, and I'll talk more about this at the hearing. We as a community must remain focused and together in order for us to move forward. We all must remember that achieving reparations is bigger than any one of us. We must remember this day in history and see the rest of this work through. Thank you all for being here, and I'm looking forward to hearing directly from community at today's hearing. Thank you.
The committee will end in January of 2024. But the work of making sure that San Francisco delivers on its commitment to bringing justice to Black San Francisco starts today and continues well beyond that. I want to personally thank every member of the committee because I know how hard we all worked, and I know the weight of having to sit and listen and relive all of the harms that we've experienced, but all of the joy that we had in being able to connect with our community and make sure that all of our thoughts, their feelings, their history were reflected in that document. It is a living document, and it continues to live because we bring the energy to making sure that San Francisco implements every last one of those recommendations, because they can. Because they can. In fact, we made sure that the recommendations that they put in this report were things that the city actually could do. So that means you have 150 plus opportunities to show how much Black lives matter in San Francisco, how much Black history matters in San Francisco, how much Black contributions matter in San Francisco, how much Black business matters in San Francisco, how much Black students matter in San Francisco, how much Black seniors matter in San Francisco, how much Black LGBTQ matter in San Francisco, that our health matters in San Francisco, that we can afford to live in San Francisco, and that if San Francisco is going to be a world-class city, it will not be one without Black lives presence, without our culture, without our genius, without our work. As Supervisor Walton said, we are the fabric of this city. It is the Black community that has, throughout generations, stood in the gap to extend safety to every other group, every other cultural and ethnic group in the city, every other disenfranchised group who dared to call San Francisco home. We helped it feel like home for you. And so one of the reasons why today it was important for us to pull this rally together to celebrate and hold the city accountable, but to make sure who's a part of holding the city accountable. We're calling on our allies. Because as we drive through Pack Heights, And as we drive through the Mission, and as we drive through the Fillmore, and as we drive through Hunters Point, and Lakeview, and Sunnydale, and Sunset, and Valencia, and all the places, Chinatown, the places that we call home, we happen to see these colorful signs in your windows that say that Black Lives Matter. And so now we are holding every ally accountable for guiding this city to where we know it needs to be, to make sure we are all safe, to make sure that we can all continue to be in the city that we help build together. And so we're gonna be calling folks up today who are standing not only in solidarity with us, but standing in the work with us, because we know that this work didn't just start with this report. I've been honored to sit on panels over the last 2 years and be in conversations with people who have been in the struggle for decades. Hundreds of years of people who have done academic research, people who have filed lawsuits, people who have went and unearthed documents that we didn't even think existed because they didn't keep records on Black people. They didn't think enough of us to record our lived history and reflect that we were here, but the evidence is all around. And guess what? We are the living proof. We are the living proof. We didn't need any more expertise than what we already had to show you our worth and our value and our contributions to this city cannot and will not be ignored. So we're gonna push forward together, right? Because each member of the Board of Supervisors, our mayor, and everyone else who has made a commitment to making San Francisco a world-class city needs your participation, needs your voice, needs you to bring your resources and make sure that they are prioritized for this cause. For this cause. Because today we are calling for what?
Reparations.
Y'all didn't say that loud enough. We're calling for what? When? Now. Right now. Without hesitation. What'd you say? Reparations without hesitation. I'm gonna have to let Brother Ace Washington rap later because don't nobody rap like him. You understand? So we do have some allies that we want to invite up today. I want to thank the Black and Jewish Unity Coalition, if you're here with the Black and Jewish Community Faith Coalition, and so many others. I could go on all day. I want to thank everyone who has circulated the endorsement list. Raise your hand if you signed the list to support reparations. And if you didn't, then that means you have...
Oh, man, my name is Renard Monroe, Executive Director of Youth First and President of Invest Black. Reparations. I mean, we could talk about reparations all day and what it means to the community, the Black community. We've been set behind every other race in history, and we need to fix that. When something's broken, you must fix it. So today we're out here to let our voices be heard. We're gonna stand in unity because this means a lot to our community.
Asked me what song I wanted to walk up to, and that's what's up. I'm Black and I'm proud. Now that was and is the godfather of soul, as you all know. Here's what he says later in the song. He says, look at here, some people say we got a lot of malice, some say it's a lot of nerve, but I say we won't quit moving until we get what we deserve. We've been buked and we've been scorned, we've been treated bad, talked about as sure as you're born. He said, but it's just as sure as it takes two eyes to make a pair, huh? Brother, we can't quit until we get our share. Somebody say, can't quit. Somebody say, can't quit.
Can't quit.
We will not quit. Listen, ever since the first slave ships crossed the Atlantic Ocean, it has been the intent of the white supremacist power brokers to destroy the very humanity of Black folks. And as we all know, this agenda to rob us of our dignity, our self-determination, and our agency continued well past slavery, as this nation's government at every level, including right here, the city of St. Francis, contributed to the perpetuation of poverty by codifying racist policies and practices, denying Black folks of the opportunities that freedom was supposed to provide. And sadly, many of those practices live on today. But despite all of those efforts, guess what? We still here. I said, we still here. We're still standing. And today we are gathered along with our allies, and we appreciate you all, to demand reparations now. And we need to understand that without atonement, there is no repair. The city must center and prioritize the well-being of San Franciscans. Anybody agree with me? Now, I need to ask you something because I just read a very disheartening data point just the other day. Pew Research did some surveying, and they found that 77% of black adults believe reparations are owed. However, only 7% believe they'll see it in their lifetime. My question to you is, do you believe? I said, do you believe? Reparations can happen. Reparations will happen in our lifetime. See, we want to close that hope gap, right? We are owed it. We have demonstrated the harms that have been caused, and now we're looking to get paid. And so, the harms that have been perpetuated by the city and county of San Francisco have been well documented and have been presented to the city. The plans offer repair opportunities for financial repair, for mental health repair, for rental housing and home ownership repair, for access to capital for our small businesses. It gives the city opportunities to act. And so, we call upon the mayor, the board of supervisors, the Human Rights Commission, to take responsibility to build all the necessary capacity to make it happen. Say, make it happen. Make it happen. Say, make it happen. Reparations today. Listen, you've heard me say it before, and I'll say it again. Centuries of harm should be met with centuries of repair. Reparations now. Let's do it, folks.
Thank you, Chair McDonald.
My name is Whittia, and I'm from Fillmore. I was born and raised out here, and I'm here because I find reparations is important for people of African American descent. The reason why I believe reparations shouldn't be just a check. I believe it should be an opportunity for the city to right their wrongs and to provide like proper house assessments, and to also to empower me as a young black woman at age 25 who still live with her parents. I don't have no kids. I'm not homeless, but I would like to be able to live in the city that I grew up in and continue to help it elevate and grow. So I feel like reparations should go to the young people who want to stay and make their city better, and to provide housing, like opportunities for all, not just those that are unfortunate.
When I say all power, you say to the people, all power. All power. When I say all power, you say to the people, all power. All power. All power. All power. All power. Clap it up if you believe reparations now is our mandate. Come on, clap your hands, everybody. My name is Michael McBride. I am a native of San Francisco. Grew up in the Bayview Hunters Point community. Went to West Point Preschool up on the hill. Went to San Francisco Christian School on Mission. Graduated from Philip Burton High School in 1993. San Francisco has produced me. I am a son of San Francisco. I love San Francisco. And yet so many of us are in exile from San Francisco, because San Francisco has not loved us back the way we have loved our city. But we ought not be surprised, because we are living in a country that does not believe that black bodies are grievable, that we are deserving to have our harm treated. We are a people in a land that forgets that over 100 million were lost in the Atlantic. 300 years of chattel slavery, 100 years of legal Jim and Jane Crow, 60 years since the passage of the Civil Rights Movement packages, and yet many of our rights are being eroded right before our eyes. Movements across the country to literally not teach our history so our children can be taught that slavery actually benefited black people. How can we repair the harm? How can we move forward if we won't have elected officials and those in power give us what is owed to us? We're not asking for a handout. We're asking for a bill that is overdue. And we demand that bill to be paid today. I must remind you, beloved, that it is indeed the case that we are here not because we've thought of plans willy-nilly. There have literally been decades, if not a century worth of plans that have coalesced at this moment in time. Someone asked me, Pastor Mike, why do we need reparations? I responded and said, why won't you support reparations? The question isn't why do we need it. The question I have for every so-called progressive and every so-called liberal in the city of San Francisco is why would you stand in the way of reparations? Is politics more important than healing the harm of our own people? Is your next election more important than healing the harm of your own people? Is your proximity to whiteness more important than healing the harm of our people? What progressive and liberal and so-called Democrat would stand in the way of providing a bill that is overdue to the largest block of voters in the Democratic Party? No, the question is not why do we need reparations. The question to you, beloved, is why are you not supporting reparation in all of its forms? And so I would just say the power is always with the people. And when the people get together, there ain't no power like the power of the people. And so may we commit to stay the course. Whenever someone tells you no, just like you peel an onion, keep on peeling. Because eventually underneath every no, there is a yes. And that yes is reparations now. God bless you.
Well, my name is Mr. Hill, better known as POP in the community. And I feel reparation means my people deserve what they owe, you know what I mean? And it'll do some justice for all the communities out here. So, you know, give what you owe.
I'm here today to say that many in my community and the API community stand with you, and it is time for your community to find and experience economic justice in this country.
All power! Thank you, John. Thank you for your words. I want to remind everyone that that racial wealth gap that we experienced was intentional and written into law. It has been enforced for generations on generations. So it is our job to dismantle systems and laws that we know have been intentionally designed to keep our people where we are. We are moving up. Let's say we're moving up. We're moving forward. I want to bring up someone who is a former supervisor, District 11 here in San Francisco. He's now the director of the Council of Community Housing Organizations. I've known him for many years as an organizer back in my Coven Advocate days as a youth, and known him to always be a champion for social justice here in San Francisco. I'd like to invite up John Avalos.
Standing that white paper, getting the attention of my censor.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hollins. It is truly an honor to speak here today. As a former supervisor, these steps are very familiar to me, but I have never stood at such an important moment with such a sense of responsibility and duty as the African American community calls for reparations to redress harms it has endured for centuries. I want to recognize the work of the African American Reparations Advisory Committee, who have sorted through ancestral trauma of the forced enslavement of their forebears from the earliest days of this nation and through San Francisco's ongoing legacy of white supremacy and racial capitalism that continue to drive this city and this nation today. The blatantly racist policies, the redlining and covenants that white and wealthy San Franciscans use to bar black people from their neighborhoods, the policies of the last century that sought to ethnically cleanse entire San Francisco neighborhoods, the so-called colorblind housing policies of today, all serve the wealthy and continue to deny African Americans access to generational wealth and forcibly displace them to the outer reaches of the Bay Area onto substandard housing here in San Francisco. It is clear that racial capitalism and its policy of urban renewal are alive and well in San Francisco and this nation today. I was first elected to City Hall in 2009 amidst a national foreclosure crisis that the city and county of San Francisco failed to recognize here locally. I recall my friend Ed Donaldson sharing with me a map of the city showing a star for every foreclosed home in San Francisco. They were clustered in the southern neighborhoods of the city. That's right, in the Bayview and Lakeview neighborhoods, home to concentrations of working class African American homeowners and their families. The southern neighborhoods resembled a galaxy where displacement was rampant. Surely the city recognized that these foreclosure clusters were part of a national foreclosure crisis, right? Wrong. There was no recognition from the city. Even when struggling black homeowners occupied their own homes to ward off the sheriff evictors, the city refused to take action. Even when the city put out its own report on the outmigration of African Americans, citing the foreclosure crisis, the city took no accountability nor offered any remedy whatsoever. That's because by design, urban renewal enables the rich to determine who gets to occupy these lands and who have access to generational wealth. Reparations is before the city, and for reparations to be meaningful, the city must fully acknowledge the harm it has caused, the systemic racism, the relentless denial of education, healthcare, housing, and economic opportunity that offer true security for everyday people. The city has a history of passing resolutions to recognize the harm it has caused, but has failed to take meaningful action. Instead, it offers crocodile tears and doubles down on the effort to let wealth and capital drive out class African American residents, let alone maximize affordability or finance housing for working people. Instead, we get the latest urban renewal strategies, now seemingly colorblind, that still cause the economic and racial disparities that drive the need for reparations. We must reject we must address these policies and make sure there's true intention towards equity. That means reparations. I want to recognize the love and courage of the African American Reparations Advisory Committee. Thank you for taking us on this journey and porting us in San Francisco to this North Star. San Francisco needs truth and reconciliation. To follow the African American Reparations Advisory Committee findings and truly offer restitution, the city must provide guarantees not to repeat the harms and transform itself to uproot this system. Reparations is a labor of faith, love, and compassion. It recognizes our ancestors, their resilience, their contributions, and sacrifices. Reparations offer us a chance to recognize our own humanity and provides a vision that builds a practice that must transform this city and how it functions and ensure access to what African Americans in San Francisco and this country need to thrive. Acknowledgement of their subjugation, commitment to action and undo the harm, transforming local government and society, not just for equality, but for social equity. As a former elected official in San Francisco, it is a personal duty to stand in solidarity with you today and demand and call on this city to adopt these recommendations for reparations. Thank you for having me here today. Reparations now.
I want to first thank the African American Reparations Committee for a comprehensive report. on how to redress the harms done to the black community. But let me be clear. The recommendations of the Reparation Committee will not undo the harms, but it's a good start. It's a good start. We know that $5 million is not going to undo the generations of harm that was done from the sins of this nation to the most recent years in San Francisco. But we have to start. We have to start. You cannot put a price tag on that pain and that oppression of white supremacy, and it impacts us all. But reparations is about equalizing and leveling the playing field for black San Franciscans, for black Americans. Black students matter. Black businesses matter. Black wealth matters. Black health matters. They say a rising tide lifts all boats. That assumes that people have a boat to begin with. Reparations is about making sure black San Franciscans have a boat and all the tools they need to rise. Are we going to pass reparations in San Francisco? Yeah. Are we going to pass reparations in San Francisco? Yeah. We have a chant that goes in the Latino community. You probably recognize it. Si se puede. Are we going to pass reparations in San Francisco? Si se... Are we going to pass reparations in San Francisco?
Si se puede, mi gente. This city has no problem, absolutely no problem, having policies and procedures that allow some people to become millionaires and billionaires. So I see no problem whatsoever allowing black San Franciscan, through this reparations bill, the opportunity to repair the harm it's created. You cannot have people blocks away from here who are multimillionaires, who do not do anything for the city, do not contribute to the city, do not make the culture more vibrant, do not make the world better in any way, shape, or form, being allowed to do what they do without actually redressing these harms. So it is with great honor and gratitude that I have to be able to say, si se puede. And this afternoon, I look forward to celebrating with all of you the fact that San Francisco is going to be at the forefront of making sure that African Americans are repaired. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Della, and my brother, Kevin Ortiz. We've got the director of the Homeless Children Network, but also a member of the LGBTQI Advisory Committee for the San Francisco Human Rights Commission. We appreciate you being here, Dr. Silas.
Where's Brother Walter? He stepped aside. Okay, I have a question. I need permission. Dr. Davis, do I have your permission to let loose just a little bit? Yes, ma'am. Okay, I needed that. I won't do it without my leaders. They give me the thumbs up, it's over. It is over. If I were you, I would stretch just a little bit. Something, your ligaments, your necks, twist something, cause we about to tear this place up and down. But for the purpose of lifting it up again, throwing that shit up in the air, and catching it and rocking it to sleep. Because this is our city. Am I clear? I'm clear? All right. I come to speak truth to power, my people. There is one power, and reparations is teaching us that. You see, the trauma of racism can teach people of African descent to forget who we are. There is a power greater than any harm, a power greater than all the trauma, a power within us and around us and underneath us, inside of us, rocking our feet, rocking our babies, waking up the dead inside of us, keeping our ancestors alive, making us shake when we try to be calm and calm when we want to go crazy. It is a power, and that power's alive today, and you better believe that power's on every page of that 398 document of exquisite brilliance. That power is alive today. Am I clear? Yes. Make sure I'm clear, my people. One power. That power is in our leaders. That power is in each of you. It's in our community. Yes? Our sweat, our blood, our tears, our labor, our hurt, all of those we've put to rest in the heels and in the arms of the unjust they have seen has not been in vain. That power is the unity among us. That's what's sweet, baby. You see, the supervisor and no other supervisor going to be able to select one of the pieces of reparation recommendation at the expense of all the others. We want it all. Uh-oh, wait a minute, I heard something. Say, we want it all.
We want it all.
Of it.
All of
Every
it.
drop of it.
Every drop of
bit
it.
of it.
Every
We
bit
don't
of
want,
it.
when you repair, we don't want you to leave nothing out. Repair our feet. Repair our knees. Repair our guts and our shoulders and our backs and our necks and our arms and our feet, our hands, the temple of our heads. Every prayer that was wailed off of one of the ships. Repair the look in their eyes as they said goodbye to what we're saying hello to today. Amen? Amen. We must have the power to declare what we want. You see, we are the authors. We're not the subjects. Let me be clear. The word reparations does not have a question mark after it. It is not reparations, please, would you, could you? I hope you're open to it. See if you can get back to us. We thank you. We've given you enough reason. If not, we'll take another 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 to write some more. The research is done. We are living proof of that. Am I clear, my people?
Yeah.
Gratitude. We must take moments to celebrate, to be grateful, to look at our leaders, to call them out, call them by name, to look at the committees, all the folks that have done all of this work, and celebrate. Hold each other close. Call out their names, call out the sweat, because I promise you, what you can see looks pretty, but it took more than we can see to bring this day about. Yes? Yes. Now lastly, let's be willing to release it all into the arms of the ethers of the infinite. That is that one power, knowing that it is done. I can let something go if I know it's already done. Is anybody feeling me? See, if I don't think it's done, I'm going to stare it down. See, I'm going to worry, and I'm going to fall apart, and then I'm going to make some choice that is not of the sanctity of intelligence that is at the core of our people. No, this is done. And so it is. Amen.
I gotta fan the mic off. And y'all better channel Dr. Silas's energy and bring it into these chambers today at 3 o'clock. You better channel that energy and bring it in here. Because today, this report is done, but the work continues to make sure this harm is done to Black San Francisco. That it is finished. Say done. Let me hear you say done. Let me hear you say finished. Let me hear you say over. Let me hear you say cut the check. That's what I'm talking about. Think y'all woke up?
Was going on in the 70s, and I got lost. I got lost and I got displaced. And I ran away from home. And when I ran away from home, I ran away from home at 12 years old, and I ran down here to the streets of San Francisco in the Tenderloin. And when I hit the Tenderloin, there was all kind of people like me. There was transgenders, queers, gay folks, people just of all. It was just the life, and I thought I had found my place there because I've seen people that was like me, and people who didn't make fun of me because the way I was, they were all the same. We were all runaways. We were all trying to find our place here in San Francisco. From there, it led me to, there was the thing of the struggle. And in the struggle, you would either have to know how to peel, steal, or even kill if you had to in the Tenderloin. And so it was a dangerous place for me. But I learned the ropes and I learned them fast because I had to be able to survive. But from there, it took me from juvenile halls. And in juvenile halls, I faced big discrimination where as a young gay youth, I wasn't able to come out of my room and play with all the other kids. I had to sit in a different chair from all the other kids. I was discriminated against and put up in different places. And from there, I was sent to the youth authority because they had no place to put me because I was gay. So, and when I got to YA Youth Authority, it was even more discrimination there. I mean, the whole place.
People, all I have to say is that I want everybody here to express how they truly feel and what they truly think, and that we've done a lot of community work together to come together now, no matter what your age, kin, background, we're here making a stand for what we believe in, and that's what democracy is about. And it's about time for enough talking and more action. Yeah. And that's all we gotta say. That's all we gotta do. You know what I'm saying? We coming from different backgrounds, coming together, and that's what democracy is about. And I'm just happy to be a part of it and helping support you guys' vision and my vision as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You know, it was in March when we were here when we introduced the draft report.
Okay.
We did it on the heels of the news story breaking about the recommendations. They took one of the 111 recommendations that we had at the time and made that the top international news story of what Black people were fighting for in San Francisco. That we had the nerve and the audacity in the middle of a budget crisis, right after the pandemic, when people are still catching COVID and businesses are closing, when we're dealing with fentanyl crises and so many other things, our schools are falling out, students are leaving, people leaving this place, we had the nerve to estimate that if we were to get cash reparations, that Black people would be owed somewhere around $5 million per person. And then the death threats. And then the sensationalizing and perversion of our work in the press. And then the questions from people both in and outside of our community about what we are doing. I want y'all to understand something. Anytime Black people say they are deserving of something, anytime Black people actually get to touch anything that even closely resembles what we are deserving of, when our basic needs are met, we are in danger.
Yes, yes, yes.
The narrative in this country, from the moment we arrived here, is that we are competition. That we are labor and nothing more.
Yes.
That we don't have the competency to do anything other than that. And understand that education comes in many forms. It's in our DNA. It's one of the reasons why people sailed from the furthest reaches of this planet to our home continent to get the most skilled carpenters.
Yes.
Agriculturists, physicians, astronomers, healers. That is who we are. People who live in the gap and bridge arms with people from all walks of life, from all over the planet, to create a sanctuary city for all. What we are calling for, what we are demanding today, is that San Francisco become a sanctuary city for Black people. And while we don't want you to lose sight of the fact that you don't pay us, because we are not asking, because when you owe a debt, or when someone sues you and files a claim, they don't ask you if you feel all right with paying the debt. They don't ask you when you might be ready to pay it. They come collect.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want Black people to continue to have the audacity to claim what is rightfully ours in this city. Whether it's $5 million, whether it's that every Black person in this city should have the opportunity to own a home in the city we help build, whether it is the establishment of a Black education system, not just one school, pre-K, K through 12, and an HBCU. We want it all. Whether it's the establishment of a public bank that is ran by Black people, whether it's the projects on the land that we grew up, covering our mouths with toxicity.
Yes.
This is our city.
Come on.
And we came here today to make sure that this city does not forget it.
Yes.
Chair McDonald and I and some of the other members of this advisory committee have spent the last couple of weeks sitting down with its resources where its mouth is to show what it looks like to bring healing and closure to Black San Franciscans, Black Americans will have an opportunity across this country. Black people will have this opportunity across the diaspora. And the people here today, your names will be recorded in history as a part of that movement. So, with that said,
Reverend Arnold Townsend, interim pastor, First Friendship Institutional Baptist Church here in the city of San Francisco. Look, reparations is important, and it should be very simple. And I will give the importance out of my Christian tradition. And in my tradition, it says all sin must be paid for. And so, and if that's the case, then America has committed an egregious sin and continues to commit that sin against Black people. And so the only question before us is America willing to be better? Or will it go into the trash heap of history as another failed experiment?
to bring up Chair after now and Vice Chair, please.
Work
declarations of intention around urban renewal, and this next slide captures a quote that I think that we believe is telling. It's kind of evidence, if we're looking for a smoking gun, here is one, where the area director, Gene Sutter from the then redevelopment agency said, one of the purposes of renewal, when it was called slum clearance, was not only to get rid of the people and the structures, but to make sure those blight
We are looking for rental and housing, home ownership opportunities for all qualified. This includes accessibility. So while we know San Francisco is prioritizing affordable housing, we want to make sure that that housing is accessible to Black San Franciscans, because we know that many of our people get excluded through the eligibility processes and application processes. We want folks to have access not only to affordable housing, but for ownership opportunities, and we expect subsidies to be in place to support that work. Spatial justice, something that we are very big on, making sure that we have thriving Black spaces and not just one neighborhood or pockets of San Francisco, but all over San Francisco. Every neighborhood in San Francisco should have a thriving Black cultural district or cultural space where Black businesses, Black cultural activities, fun and enjoyment can also be experienced. Our food, our music. We should not walk into neighborhoods where we hear ourselves but don't see ourselves. We're looking for support for job creation and succession. We want to build a bench that invests in jobs, and we know that San Francisco continues to attract new sectors of innovation. We want to make sure that Black people are centered in accessing and creating those opportunities here. And we're looking for multi-million-dollar investments in Black business ownership. Black entrepreneurship is not only a path for closing the wealth gap and making sure that our families can sustain here in the city in the future, but it also contributes to the culture of this city. It is what makes San Francisco attractive, having Black business and entrepreneurship accessible everywhere. Next slide. Education continues to be a top priority for us. We know that our students are underserved in the San Francisco Unified School District, and we want that to change. And while we understand that the different authorities that we have limited control over each other, we are still calling for you all to work in partnership and prioritize healing the harm that's been done to Black students in San Francisco and creating new educational pathways for our community. So first and foremost, our community has been very vocal about the creation of a Black school. We've talked about a K-12 school. There's also been a call for pre-K and for historically Black college and university to be located here in San Francisco. I see some of you smiling. I know there's a commitment to this, so we fully expect to see this come to life. We know that there's opportunities right here in front of us to establish an HBC. Y'all can clap. Okay. This is a celebration not only for how far we've come, but for what we know is going to happen when we finish giving our summary of our best thinking. We fully expect the next steps to be the action. So we are celebrating what we see education. We want to continue the recruitment and retaining of African American educators. We learn better when we learn with our own educators. We receive knowledge and wisdom, knowledge of self from our own educators. So we want to increase the recruitment of African American educators. We want to interrupt the school to prison pipeline. We not only need cultural competency to deal with the trauma and the harm that we have experienced in the education setting and other settings as well, but ways to empower our community to do what is natural to us in terms of healing. There are so many things that we do in the African American community that are part of our cultural We would like to see free access to those programs, both prevention and intervention for Black people. We want long-term structural investments in creating those replacement clinics and programs in our communities, because we know the Department of Public Health has the capacity to do so. And so we are calling on the city to support us with that. We also want safer spaces. And we want a diversity of safe spaces in our communities throughout the city, for people to process and heal, for people to work through their trauma, but also, again, to create new spaces where we can create more joy, and that is a part of our health. Yes. Policy. So it's important for us to continue addressing the historic policies that we know still linger somewhere in our city codes and charters and policies that reinforce the situation we have right now in San Francisco. We want to make sure that any existing local policies that we introduce have an intention to reverse those harms. So again, let's be innovative, let's be mindful about the things that we're suggesting. We understand there's been a lot of conversation about Prop 209 and other things that would have been tools or vehicles for us to name specific benefits for people groups like the Black community that don't exist right now. What we are saying is that that did not prevent you from finding ways to run resources to specific groups and communities in San Francisco. Absent 209, we've still found a way to prioritize support and services for the API community, for the LGBT community, for other underrepresented communities in San Francisco. So we are charging you to utilize your policy to do the same thing for Black San Francisco. And of course, we want to continue working with you all in the successful implementation of policy. So the independent stakeholder advisory group is going to be very important, working with the Office of Reparations and with city leaders like yourselves to make this happen. Chair, come with me. This is in your districts, friends, people that you've grown up with, displaced. You continue to see the harm perpetuate as you work in your current seats to try to close the racial wealth gap, deal with education, deal with violence. We see you every day doing your best. But this is a moment where we're calling on you to do more than your best. This is a moment when we are calling on you to be exactly who we know San Francisco is. Because right now, the media is reporting us a very different way. Right now, San Francisco is earning an identity as a city who cares more about politics than people. Right now, San Francisco is earning a reputation of being a place where decisions cannot be made in the interests of human lives. Right now, San Francisco is earning an identity of a place that is unsafe and unwelcoming, specifically to Black people. And you have an opportunity to change that right now. We did not come here begging to show our work and our value to the city. The city would not have its identity were it not for Black San Franciscans. Things that are revolutionary and historically documented about this city were initiated by Black San Franciscans. Whether it was bringing the College of Ethnic Studies to San Francisco State University, or the Black Panther meetings that took place in Fillmore, or building the infrastructure in the city that took place in Hunters Point, the south side of the city, and by extension, the opportunities that were created for every neighborhood and every ethnic group gave very personal, very meaningful testimonies of why this issue mattered to you and how much you respect and care for our Black residents in San Francisco. What we are asking you to do is now make an investment in the future of San Francisco by centering and prioritizing Black San Francisco. Because there will not be any thriving downtown corridor without Black San Franciscans. There will not be any tourism without Black San Franciscans and Black business. There will not be without our participation in making this city what we've always wanted to be. And so as we hear from you today, we hope not only to hear your commitment, but your action. Because you have somewhere about 100 plus recommendations in front of you. And each of them are an opportunity, not only today, but for the next 150 years for you to prioritize making Black San Francisco home again.
I ask you, what do you want history to say? What do you want the annals of history to say about this unique moment in time? And we hope that it means you will, again, do right by Black San Francisco. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Vice Chair. Collins, and now we bring up Director of the Rights Commission, Dr. Shirley.
Good afternoon. I apologize if you can't hear my voice. We will go through, I will talk a little bit briefly about the Greenkeeper Initiative, a little bit about the process what got us to this point, and what I see with regards to moving the work forward. First and foremost, just starting by the last lot, Greenkeeper is not operations, and so I want to be very clear just in terms of the work of the Dreamkeeper Initiative. It aligns with, and I know that Supervisor Walton believes that it can inform and that it models and funnels into, but it is not the same. Reparations is about addressing the past harm. It is about repairing the past harm. It is about acknowledging that. And Dreamkeeper Initiative is very much focused on making sure that we are focusing on Black excellence, Black joy, centering the Black community and investing in that. And the intentionality of reparations is not what that is. So did want to share just the updates with regards to Dreamkeeper Initiative. As many of you know, it was launched in 2020. That investment has been annualized. I want to thank you for that. We have seen an increase in the number of Black businesses. Some of the things that have been recommended or that we're talking about with regards to reparations, the pipelines, the work that is being done with early ed, the work that's being done with Urban Ed Academy to have more Black teachers and representation there. We have also the increase in home ownership. A few things that I specifically wanted to call out is the Community Research Institute, where over 100 people have been trained to do the research and data collection. Black people with lived experience that are able to tell the story from a lived experience narrative and not with a false narrative of what it means to be Black in San Francisco. And so those are the types of investments that we see with regards to the Dreamkeeper Initiative. And I would just say, ultimately, what we want to see advanced and celebrated from the Dreamkeeper Initiative is that it's community-centered, that it is focused on what the community wanted to see happen with that funding, but even more than that, that instead of saying that the community needs to be responsible to the bureaucratic norms, it is saying that the bureaucratic norms need to really be evaluated how they move forward and understand how they often limit the ability of Black people to do what's best for the Black community. And that's the part that we really want to recognize and celebrate. So with regards to the process, I just want to acknowledge that the committee, the African American Reparation Advisory Committee, was developed to bring bringing those recommendations to the Board of Supervisors to recommend to the board what needed to happen, as well as the mayor and the Human Rights Commission. That in addition to that, the Human Rights Commission role was to be both administrative support, but to also support and find funds to support not just the committee, but consultants and folks that would be able to support the advancement of that work. We can go to the next slide. And that we were meant to be the administrative support and to post the report, the initial report, the draft plan, and the final plan. So where we are right now, we just heard from the chair and vice chair. They have shared the submission of the recommendations, which we hope that you had an opportunity to review and look at. So that part has happened. Go to the next slide. I just want to share with you where we are on the next steps with regards to the role of the Human Rights Commission and where we go. So the Human Rights Commission, and I think after this, the commission will share the body. The commission reviewed those recommendations, and then in addition to that, we held several community engagement sessions to get additional input to make sure that as we came here before you today, that we could say in addition to the process, the exhaustive two-year process of the committee, that we also did a check in community to make sure that folks were aware and that they had an opportunity to weigh in on that, presentation. I've also had the opportunity to engage with the city attorney's office on next steps and moving forward, and to make sure the things that we propose are legally sound. I will say that those conversations and that engagement is confidential, but that I am working very closely with the city attorney's office to begin the next process. So with regards to developing and building out an Office of Reparations, the three things that have been highlighted and that we reviewed and identified really as the core components of that are to understand the reparations landscape, and that's both locally, statewide, and nationally, to make sure that we understand how we can leverage what's happening across the country, as well as what we're doing here, to add details to the reparations plan. So that is the part to go back and engage with the city attorney to understand what are the things that we need to do to be able to move those things forward, to support implementation of the proposals, and then to develop, support a public education campaign. There's a lot of false narratives about what reparations are, or even just the negative things that have been said, specifically about the committee members or about Black people who want reparations. So we want to make sure we do a public education campaign to make sure that we have more people supporting and more people speaking back and not just their opinion about what reparations are. And so what I'm highlighting here now are some of the recommendations that we believe that we can move forward, even while we're working to get the Office of Reparations up and moving. One is the Fillmore Heritage Center. That is something that the Human Rights Commission has been working with the Mayor's Office of Housing, Community Development, as well as Supervisor Preston's office and OEWD, to not just get the building occupied by an African-American leaseholder, but to make sure that we give additional dollars so that when they go in there, they have the funding they need to be able to not just open the building, but to be able to open it. And I think the long-term plan is to actually be able to give the building to whoever the owner operator may be down the line. Fully fund African-American cultural districts, and then to create a fund to purchase communal spaces. So those are things that, working with the city attorney's office, we do believe we can develop a plan of implementation. With regards to education, one thing that we have been working on for the last couple of years, this came out of a recommendation from Diane Gray and other folks around the HBCU satellites. We have been working and have engaged with Spelman, Clark, Howard, and other places about the potential of coming to San Francisco. So that is something that we have been actively working on. Introducing mandatory core Black history, fund after-school programs, and real estate trade pathways. Those are things that we believe that even beyond us working with the school district to implement, that the Board of Supervisors could actually introduce a resolution or or do some things to help encourage the board to move that work forward. Health, these are things that have come up in this space, pre-education. To prioritize the creation of low-income and low-income housing base. And so when we get to the final list of recommendations that we think we can actually advance, one of them is to think about how we center and prioritize certificate of preference holders, whether that is with cash payments or other ways that we could potentially do disbursements. And that is something that is list-based. That is something that we could go to that is within the OCII portfolio, but that we could actually put money towards that and maybe even leverage the money that has already been allocated to support reparation. So these are the things that the Human Rights Commission believes that we can actually begin to advance, and we welcome support with moving forward. The formal apology, the establishing of an Office of Reparations, support for statewide reparations efforts, landmark preservation, really thinking about what that might look like, supporting and investing in Black cultural, historical cultural centers, gun violence intervention model. That is something that some of you may remember. Dream Keeper Initiative tried to launch and got tremendous backlash from reporting from Fox News, where it was called Cash for Criminals, where we were doing that investment, and we'd love to have additional support to continue that work. All of the war on drugs policies, declare community violence as a public health crisis, culturally responsive substance abuse services, to continue doing the work around HBCU satellites, to do and think about support for our seniors. I think one of the things that we feel very strongly around, and I would say this for myself within the Human Rights Commission, is that many of our seniors and elders, especially those who have experienced and lived lifelong trauma here in San Francisco, how can we prioritize them for some of these initial disbursements to make sure that folks who are over the age of 75 or 80 are able to get some of that money or issues. And as I said before, funding for certificate of preference holders, and then to think about how we address Prop 209 and continue to support and identify the issues and challenges that exist. So I wanted to not merely be as eloquent or passionate as the chair and the vice chair, but wanted to be able to leave you all with these very concrete things that we think we can leverage funds for, and that we would additionally move like the additional funds for. But those are the things the Human Rights Commission believes that we can essentially advance in the
And now we appreciate Reverend Brown, who are the first speaker, and will line up to honor that your right. We will hear from Representative James Supervisor.
Thank you so much, Chair Prescott. And before we begin public comment, I just want to say, as a courtesy to the former supervisor and someone who has been on the forefront of reparations, not only locally but at the state level, we'll call on Reverend Dr. James Brown to speak first prior to public comment. Thank you, Chair Prescott.
Thank you, Supervisor Walton. Reverend Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. I have the privilege and honor of being the senior most member of the task force at the local and state levels. I've used that now before, and I repeat it again. And in Mississippi, where I came from, if you really wanted to have a successful plowing of the field, you never team up two young mules to plow by themselves. And neither do you team up two old mules to plow alone. But if you really want to have a straight road and a successful crop, you always team up an old mule and a young mule. I submit to you that we have worked together as a dream team, old you and young you. I leave you today with this wisdom. John Steinbeck said in Great Wrath, I wonder how many people in my lifetime have I just looked at, but I did not see. How many people in my lifetime did I just looked at, but I did not see? We are at this moment of appealing for reparation because too long has it been the case in this world, this nation, and this city that black folks have been just been looked at, but our humanity was never seen. And I want to thank first, after we introduced as NACPers to this board on July 30th, 2019, Brother's mom, Joanna Moulton, came this year. And the board sitting then voted unanimously to support his legislation. And then over there, Sister Hillary Rodham. First one who heard Danny Glover and I sit in our office and make a passionate appeal. Well, let's do something. I just want to say to you, the house is on fire. The patient is in intensive care at the point of death. Just take the wisdom of mighty. Just do it. Just do it. We don't need to make it a paralysis of an analysis. Now it's time for us to act. Don't call for another minute to debate and have a conversation. We need to change our conduct. I believe that you're going to do the right thing. You're going to show the world that you are a blessed, liberal San Francisco. And you are that dream team legislative body that will set that bar high. And if you don't have all the money, understand, I came from Mississippi before I got here. And they used to have what you call a layaway plan. You can take care of this on an installment plan.
Chair of the Human Rights Commission. I'm here to share with all of you that the Human Rights Commission fully endorses the report of the African American Reparations Committee. We laud the hard work that's been put into this amazing 2-year effort that is not over yet. And I want to say on a personal note, my first job in San Francisco was with the Mayor's Summer Youth Program in 1977.
time when the redevelopment was taking homes, relocating people, they came and they talked to my grandfather. And he said, what is it that I need to do to stay here? Because I have a home. Tell a long story short, on one side, it was 2 families, 13 kids. The other side was 3 families. So they said it wasn't up to code. My grandfather said, I will bring it up to code. So guess what? He said no all the way until he died. So do you know the day after he died, they were like, city and county, you guys have to go. We're going to demolish this property. Mind you, all the properties in the neighborhood nearby. Thank you.
And they cannot have a world-class city except we have a world-class leadership and a world-class people. We cannot leave here today after receiving all this wonderful, powerful, documented information. And this board can become a world-class board if they accept the facts and evidence that are presented to them. And I think, Mr. Preston, you and this board have the ability not to leave here to make sure you are the first board of supervisors in California to approve a reparation report from a world-class committee. And I want to thank you in advance.
Organizations and Black LGBTQ. Why? As those of us are often the first to go down. Bless you. To finalize reparations.
Reparations need to be given to the Black people of America, and it doesn't look like a check. It looks like an investment in the success of Black youth and young adults, starting with Black sector system. Reparations is a forward step to economic advancement of Black Americans, being that when we were free, we were not given civility. When we were sharecroppers, we were not given supplies. And when we were educated, we were not given a check to go to our body. Ever since we've been free, we've been given prejudice, we've been given terrorism, and we've been given you guys, we voted y'all in so that y'all can move swiftly and ensuring that you do what we civil people, we go to work every day, y'all always are.
My name is Neil T. Collins, and I'm in support of reparations. And while I say that, I went to school. The city and county abused my mother. They abused me in the San Francisco School District. You can go and look at your records, because I believe in 71 and 72, that's when the board of supervisors was no longer in charge of San Francisco Board of Supervisors. I kept down. I'm just here to say that we are well deserved. I was abused in the San Francisco School District, right down here at John Smith, all because my mother empowered me to get educated. And when I told the teacher that we weren't supposed to be here taking naps, she took my hand and hit it on the desk, and that happened for 2 to 3 weeks before I was able to tell my aunt. So I said, I'm not the only one, and I'm not the only family whose family's been abused in San Francisco. Like growing up, I've been here 60 years, my whole life has been here. And it's time for someone to stand up. It's time for y'all to stand up. Or we're going to have to get busy. We're going to have to start going out there and going to these meetings, these school board meetings, and we need to be doing everything. We need to do that anyway. So let's get on it. We're not stopping now.
I need everyone to get your phone, and I need you to put 415-287-7481. We have already shut down the Department of Justice at 350 Rhode Island. We're fighting in regards to all these unsolved homicides and all these black children that are being murdered in this city. I'm going to tell y'all something. I'm not here to do this rhetoric. We was here a few months ago. I'm here to tell y'all to come and support and stand with us. We're shutting the city down. This city is corrupt from the crown of its head. A Black Asian woman that was murdered at the wharf
murdered after, and she's already had a court date and a trial. The quadruple homicide, we're still waiting 8 years and 8 months. It's obvious that the city is racist and discriminatory. Thank you very much.
Once again, we are going to agree with the approval of this reparation committee for this review.
You know, seeing this as a college graduate with a master's in social work. Please help us because we need it. We need to stop this foolishness. It's kids out here who are watching us. And San Francisco has been the lead in start of gay marriage, legalized weed, even tickets at the lights. So if we do this and start this now, oh my God, in the name of Jesus.
It's not out. And also, white supremacy has fucked us up. White people. Like, seriously. So part of the reparation should also be, like, really, like, questioning yourselves, questioning your thoughts, killing the police in your minds, not voting to give SFPD even more money to police black people, to kill black people, to keep them homeless, to put them in jails, to profit off of them even more. We need to kill that. We need to stop that. So the next time you vote to give SFPD more money instead of investing in the black community, you have failed.
We will continue to do our job of expanding the political will. I'd like to bring your attention to recommendation 1.9, create a Black reparations trust that can accept funds for the purpose of investing in Black communities. Quote, this entity should allow donations from individuals and corporations who want to give their land, real property, or financial assets to the reparations effort. Let's challenge the city of liberal millionaires and billionaires to help pay up. San Francisco can do this. We can do our share to correct the tax code.
Thank you for your comments. If you have that in writing, you want to submit that. Reparation Advisory Committee, a parent of 2 young women raised in the San Francisco Unified School District, and an educator of 23 years. I come to you today asking you to stand on the right side of history. I urge you to support the recommendations before you, recognizing that they represent the hopes, dreams, aspirations, and honestly the just dues of a community that has far too long suffered the consequences of San Francisco's discriminatory policies, practices, and blind eye. While San Francisco may not have participated in chattel slavery, it is undeniable that the city bears a responsibility for the painful legacy and racism and anti-blackness that has scarred our city, stolen our wealth, blocked us from opportunity, and left us in environmental ruins. You know the data, you've seen the statistics, the harms are glaring, and we need you to step up, step out, and boldly support these recommendations. Stand tall and do what is right. Let's get to work.
Many diverse stakeholders in the Black community have been consulted, and it's not up for us white people to question their second.
My great-great-great-grandfather was George Washington. I came from the plantation. There's no hesitation, emancipation, no proclamation. We need reparation. Listen, right now, and like you said, you got like 80 seconds. Ain't no jive. I'm on my mind. There's 100 recommendations. I agree with them all. I got one particular one. Ain't no jive on the line. And then I can carry on. My name is Bennett.
Thank you.
Legacies of slavery and segregation. Reparations aim to address these historical wrongs, to heal the wounds that have been consistently ignored, and to pave the way for more and just and inclusive society. Reparations are not about dwelling on the past, but rather about creating a fairer future. I stand before you because the bells of justice are ringing. I stand before you because we must answer that call here today. We're called to make a difference in this room. We stand to make a difference in this room. We have work to do here in San Francisco, and we will
right to it. You've all heard the evidence that you need in order to make a decision. I understand that you may have reservations about accepting all of the recommendations, but there are some things that you can do today. Is to voice your support to fund and establish the Office of Reparations so that they can do the hard work necessary to implement the reparations. And ultimately, reparations is a moral question that has a logical answer. Are the harms observed? Yes. Is there a death owed? Yes. Are reparations deserved? Yes. Does it harm others to implement reparations? No. For all these reasons, reparations should be implemented. Be on the right side of history, support reparations, change the world, and if you lack the funding, as my pastor Reverend Brown said, then I'll lay on it.
Thank you for your comments.
Hey, now.
That alone speaks volumes. And sometimes there is a disconnect between what is on the Fox News headlines and what the latest polls we hear about. People say, oh, people don't want reparations, this and that. As if it's some kind of conventional wisdom. It's not conventional wisdom. We've heard loud and clear from the public, led by the Black community in favor of reparations. So I find that exciting, historic. I'll try not to repeat what I said last time because we talked initially. I fully support reparations. I fully support this report. I'm excited to continue to work in making these recommendations a reality. I want to thank our colleague Supervisor Walton and his entire staff for the leadership in establishing this advisory committee. And Pastor Brown spoke to the origins and how this moved to the board, unanimously approved by the Board of Supervisors to set up this committee back in 2020. And I just can't underscore enough the leadership, the courage, the vision demonstrated by Supervisor Walton in working so closely with community leaders to move forward this committee despite the unanimous approval from people here, as Supervisor Walton referenced, the incredible toxic environment of what our inboxes and voicemails, and especially for people who participate directly in the process, what you have to endure when you challenge white supremacy in our society. And I believe that fighting for reparations is a direct challenge to white supremacy and an appropriate challenge to white supremacy. I want to thank Chair McDonald, Vice Chair Collins, the entire committee for all of your work and incredible leadership on this, and also Director Davis and her entire team at Human Rights Commission for their work moving this forward. I represent District 5, so I have the privilege to represent one of the few remaining districts in our city with a large Black population. A lot of folks have spoken to our incredible community of Fillmore and West Addition that for generations have experienced the devastating impacts of redevelopment, disinvestment on the national level, state level, local level, over-incarceration and mass displacement. A lived experience that this report tries to reflect in writing, but I think as much as we all read it, for those who actually lived it, it's that much more intense and real and urgent. I want to encourage the public, and I think a couple of public commenters talked about this, I want to encourage the public to review and engage with this report in its entirety. There's a want to use the word, every detail of the strategies. I want to repeat what the chair told us in the first meeting when this was coming up, and that was that the committee's job is not to do a feasibility study. Those are his words. The committee's job is to quantify and describe, assess, and lay out the harms and lay out the roadmap to how you would address and repair those harms. And that is not that this committee's job to raise funds or to decide exactly how to achieve each objective. Their job is to, as I said, lay out the harms and lay out the roadmap for meaningful reparations. And I think they've done exactly that. And so I commend them for that. I look forward to continuing to partner with the committee members, with you, colleagues, with the administration, to move as many of these forward as possible. I do want to note a few things while I have the mic, and I know others have comments won $20 million for public housing repair and are actively pushing the mayor's office to release those funds. Recommendation 2.21, and part of why I'm going into so much detail is it tells you, shows you, if you haven't read this report, the scope of these recommendations that are absolutely essential for our city. Recommendation 2.21 specifically draws from a lot of work we've done in collaboration with the community around residential vacancy, recommending that vacant units, according to the report, should be offered immediately to unhoused residents, and then offered to COP residents and holders, Section 8 voucher holders, and reparation recipients. We appreciate that recommendation and look forward to working with the committee to expand our efforts to fill vacant units in the city. Consistent with recommendation 7.1, our office is dedicated to AdVac funds to cover startup funds for Black entrepreneurs in the film world. Consistent with recommendation 6.6, which calls for parity between public defenders' funding and the district attorney's funding, our office has continued prioritizing every budget cycle, along with some of my colleagues, funding for the public defender, including critical investments in programs like the cycle program, which is specifically noted and discussed in the reparation report. And then it goes without saying that our office and some of our colleagues have co-sponsored and fully supported Supervisor Walton's efforts to establish and fund the Office of Reparations, which I think is really one of the key actionable, immediately actionable recommendations of the report. So, these are just a handful of things my office is working on and that we want to expand on in relation to these recommendations. I hope the report will push the mayor, the board of supervisors, departments, all of us to move faster and to be bolder in implementing these recommendations. I do want to emphasize another thing that I think is clear to most of the people involved in reparations work and impacted by reparations work, but perhaps needs to be said for the benefit, particularly of some elected leaders in San Francisco. The task of reparations is not just to direct resources and policies to reverse past harms. It's also to learn the lessons from the past and make sure that we do not pursue policies and engage in conduct today that exacerbates anti-Blackness and racial disparity. And today, here in San Francisco, we have elected officials backing some of the very policies identified in this report as causing harm to the Black community. For example, to elected leaders who claim to support recommendations of a reparations report and have spoken positively about reparations in prior hearings and in public, they're backing a report that identifies how racial disparity in policing and incarceration has severely damaged the Black community. And to those folks, I ask that you apply the policies, that you apply the reparations report framework to the policies you're putting forward in the present moment. That means do not write a blank check to SFPD, despite the disproportionate use of force to arrest of Black people, numbers that are likely even higher than previously reported, given revelations that some officers have been misrepresented and misreporting data. Do not double down on war on drugs tactics like expanding the arrest of drug users, surging the jail population, which is now over 1,000 people, and reversing some of the progress we are making, and disqualifying people from accessing benefits they need to survive. Do not criminalize homelessness, which disproportionately affects Black San Francisco. When we look at budgets for policing, incarceration, and prosecution, we need to recognize that our city continues to have among the worst racial disparities in California. And the bottom line, and it's a difficult conversation to have, but we need to have it, that we are increasing the very harms identified in this report every day, even with many of the positive steps we've taken as a city, including the Dreamkeeper Initiative and other investments in the Black community. out to speak, and to Supervisor Walton and the HRC team. Really looking forward to turning this report and these recommendations into reality. Let's get this done long overdue. Thank you.
Thank you. Second Vice President, Supervisor Broder.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming out today. I have been in this role either as a legislative aide or a supervisor for over 14 years. That you have given the city and not only your community, all of our communities, because if we don't right the wrongs done to you and done to Black people in this country, then we're never going to heal as a nation, no matter what race you are. That original wrong is so deeply embedded and connected to every wrong that has happened since slavery, since the genocide of Native Americans. You can't separate those original sins from everything else that has developed in this country since the independence from England, right? And so I feel so strongly about this, and I feel so committed to making this a reality. What I would say going forward is there's some of us that are deeply committed to this work. Always have been, always will be, and we'll show you with every vote we make, right? And you can look at our records and you can say, you know, she's pretty much on the substance, always been there with me, always said yes. And then there are others who will say, yes, I'm with you, but then you look at their votes, it doesn't matter, right? And so what I want to do, and I'm looking to you for leadership, is you've handed us the map, and now we've got